Hi, I'm Lisa Starrett with Glassy Cuts. I'm going to be teaching you all about making a glass project called On Its Edge. And On Its Edge is a gravity-defying technique that you can create beautiful sculptures, one-of-a-kind pieces of artwork for both exterior and interior. And we created these kits and just a little demo to kind of get your feet wet. So on its edge, I actually have a full video course. There's 5 different techniques that you can play with the glass and fusing it on its edge. Like I said, 5 different ones. This is just one technique. So we created these kits so that you could get your feet wet and see if you like it. So I have been a glass artist for over 25 years, and I have worked with and perfected working with float glass, which is window glass, recycled glass. It can be frame glass, bottles, but basically I buy 8-foot sheets of window glass and then I fuse with it. So I've been using a colorant for 25 years that we now carry this colorant, and we're the distributor worldwide outside of Europe. And what we're trying to do is just teach as many techniques as we can. This is a cost-effective way of doing fusing artwork, glass artwork. And so this is just one of the techniques, and I'm kind of excited to show you. I have been in existence here in the studio for many, many years. We actually are in existence, yes, because I love artwork and I love teaching, but because we have a nonprofit also. We go over to Burkina Faso, West Africa, and help women empower them for life with microloans, and we have sewing school and agriculture programs. If you're interested in checking that out, you can go to our website, creative-warriors.org. And of course, the links are on our glassycuts.com website as well. Anyway, let's get started. So this kit is amazing. It's got everything you need to be successful in making a 6-inch glass sculpture, gravity defying, like I said, and there's so many more techniques, but this is a really cool one. So these kits come with everything that you're going to need, and I thought I'd just show you the inside of them. It's pretty cool. And with this kit, then you get the video that you're watching now, and I'm going to describe and walk you through the process. So a 6-inch on its edge project would be something like this, and this is with no other decor, just as a base and then the sculpture. You can elevate it, and with our giblets, which are also in the kit, just something like this. I don't know if you can see that, but there's giblets, really cool things that you can do with these giblets and other pieces of glass too, which we'll talk about in just a second. And then you can elevate it even more. We have Glassy Cut shapes, like 160 different shapes that you can choose from. This is a butterfly with our no-cap mica that can be capped, but you don't have to. With this particular project, though, instead of a butterfly, we're actually going to show you how to make your own starfish and then adhere it to the sculpture. The first things first, you're going to want scrap glass. You're going to want some window glass. You can go down to your local glass shop, and they're cutting windows, and they have scrap, and they often just give it away. So that's a great place to start. We also sell 16-inch by 16-inch squares of glass. And then there's a lot of things out there about float glass that really are not true. A lot of things on the internet that you read that aren't true. One thing is that it's crap is what everybody told me when I first started. And they said it is not, you can't fuse with it, which is not true. You can go to my website, lisastret.com, and you can see the commission work that I've done, public and private, and I'm on the Washington Arts, and so we do things like ferry terminals and bridges and that sort of thing. So there's lots of different things that you can do with this glass. It is a harder glass, and so it actually lasts outside or inside. All of my work has been outside for over 20 years now and looking as good as the day is that we installed it. So that's pretty cool. So it's a harder glass. That means the fusing schedule is going to be just a little bit different. But there are things out on the internet that are not true. So we have a Mythbuster little form that you can get. It's on our website too, telling you all the things that you might find on the internet that isn't true, and then we tell you the truth. So anyway, so in your kit, you're going to get kind of a uniform piece of glass that you can start cutting up. But you might want to just go get scrap glass. And the first thing is you have to decide the width of your project. So in the kit, your width will be a 5-inch piece of glass, and it goes up to 6 inches. There's a little bit more glass in there, so if you want to do a little bit more. There's also glass for a base, and there's also glass for the starfish. Those are the cutouts that I was talking about. So the first thing is the tin. There is the metal tin in this glass, in all float glass, not tempered glass and some other glass that you'll find for frames and that sort of thing. But there is a tin on one side of this glass. For the project that we're doing today, you do not need to know what side the tin is on, which is great. The first thing you want to do is clean your glass with your glass cleaner, both front and back. And then we take a microfiber and wipe that down so there are no smudges. And so you're going to choose what size your sculpture is going to be. Like I said, this is uniform, but you might find odds and ends like this that you can cut up. All right. This glass is 1/8-inch glass. So however tall your glass is going to be, which is 6 inches, you're going to have 48 pieces of glass that you're going to want to cut. Now, the width of the glass that you cut makes a difference. So you can do something really thin, or you can do something a little bit thicker. If you go a little bit thicker, then you're going to get less height to your sculpture. So you want to really look at that. These pieces, they range anywhere from a 1/2 inch, a little bit more, a little bit less. So the big key thing is that you're going to want to make waves in your glass. Well, you don't have to, but I love making some waves in my glass, and it gives it some more dimension on the top of the glass, the top of the sculpture. But you don't want to do thicker pieces and then really thin pieces. And the reason why is after you fuse this, then you will have a break point if you have too thin of a piece in there. So when you're cutting, I don't even draw lines on this. What I do is I have one side that's straight, and then I kind of curve it back and forth, and I make a straight line. Then I curve it back and forth, and I make a straight line. So just to show you some little pieces that I cut up earlier. Let's see if you can see that. Let's see, on my black shirt, you can kind of see it against it. So you can see one side is pretty well straight, and this one's not as straight, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's what you want, is you don't want it perfect. When we put them together, we're going to put the side that is less curvy, but you can see when I put this together, there's sides that are higher and lower than others, and that's kind of what I like. Now you can make them all uniform if you want. You do not have to have the curve at it on the tops at all. You can make it a straight cut, and this works just as well too. So in the photos that we have in the kit, you'll see that waviness that I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to just cut in and out, and then straight, in and out, straight, and out, straight, and I go all the way to the end. And then we just click them. Now, what's cool is this glass is cleaned already. You don't have to determine what side is the tin and one side is not, so it does not matter. And then you're gonna just go and snap your pieces. All right, and then I've got this nifty little tray thing. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I get these at the dollar store, and it's kind of a cardboardy. It's got a top to it, so if you get this wet, then it doesn't fall apart. But I usually will build on something like this to then carry it to the kiln and then build it inside the kiln. So it already has my thin fire paper. You don't have to use thin fire paper. You can do a kiln wash on your shelf. And we start to build this. See, I'm going to use a lid just to prop it up. You can see some are higher, some are lower. And I'm going to stop building there for just a second. I'm going to pick that up, and I'm going to see, I'm going to bring this as close as I can. Can you see the in and out? Now, if you are, let's say you are not in your studio and you're maybe doing this with a group of people, they can build this and put a little Elmer's glue. Glass tack doesn't work because it takes too long for it to dry, but just a dab of Elmer's glue, and it will glue these together so that when you do transport them, they don't fall apart, and then you can just pick them up and put them right in your kiln. So I'm going to build a little bit more. There we go. So I would continue to cut that glass and build it up. But when you set this up in the kiln, you can have your straight edges, because I started with pretty uniform glass. If it wasn't uniform, then it would have play in and out, right? Because some, like this, isn't uniform. So this is wider here and not as wide here. And that means that my strips wouldn't be as wide. But if you want kind of that organic feel, then actually I take a piece of glass and I move it in and out to kind of give the edges play that way. Now, if you have really wavy tops, what's going to happen, and when you fuse it, some of those might even bend over, which is pretty cool. So I would practice and play with that also. Anyway, here you go. This is, hopefully you can see that. It's a pretty cool little chunk just right there. Then when I build it, I would build it into the kiln. Let's just pretend this is the kiln here. I would have some kiln furniture and then another piece of fiber paper or the thin paper, and so it doesn't stick, the glass doesn't stick to my kiln furniture. Just cut strips and then brace the kiln furniture, push against the glass. And then again, whatever this looks like right now is what it's going to look like when it comes out. So if it's cattywampus, it'll be cattywampus when it comes out. If you have really short pieces and long pieces, the long pieces next to the short pieces might even fall down, and I love that look. So this would go in the kiln, and you would fire it. I have a firing schedule that is included in the kit. And I have a specific, we take it up to 1425. Now your kiln might be a little bit different than mine, but I take it to around 1425. That's where it's not fully fused, and it's more of a tack fuse. It's tack fuse for good. If you want it to lay down a little bit more, you can increase the heat. But then the key to this is that you hold it for 11 minutes. Not 10 minutes, not 12 minutes, but 11 minutes. And you'll see, if you want to play around with that, the difference that 1 minute makes. Both not enough and too much. So take a look at that. Okay, so the base. The base is going to want to be, you're going to want to make it big enough so that when you, we're going to use just a glass glue, a Loctite glass glue is fine. Whatever you use in your kiln, in your studio is fine, as long as it's clear and doesn't yellow. And the base of your sculpture, make sure the base of your sculpture has a wide piece at the very base. And that's where, when you glue it onto your base, then it can stand up. Because if you had a thinner piece, then it might be a little wobbly. So I always put my last piece of glass just a little bit thicker so it has a footing to sit on your base. And you can put that in the center, you can put it on the edge. Sometimes we do these for awards a lot of times, and so we'll leave a space for a plaque to go. For a 6-inch tall sculpture, we usually have a base that's about an inch wider than your glass, and this one is 2.5 inches for the 6-inch sculpture. So you've got extra glass in your kit that you can cut that down. And then I fuse the base by itself. So this base was just put in by itself, fused on full temperature. That's up to 1550. Again, it's our full fuse firing schedule, and that's in the kit as well. And you can see that this glass doesn't pull in. It's just one sheet. You don't have to double it up, and it doesn't pull in like the other art glass does. So that's one of the benefits to float glass, amongst many other benefits. You can look for some of my other videos on the benefits of using float glass, because I've been doing this my entire career. Anyway, so you'll full fuse that, bring that out. You'll do a tack fuse on your sculpture itself. You'll be gluing that onto your base. And now let's move on to the Glassy Cuts shape. This is a starfish. And like I said, we have so many different shapes that you can choose from, really intricate ones that you could never even cut out with a saw. We cut these out with water jet. So it's very, very simple. This one is sifted with our frit powder with orange and red. So the orange goes down on a base, then we put a stencil over the top, and we put red over the top of that. So I'll do that in just a second. The difference with our frit compared to the other systems of glass, like 96 and Bullseye, is that you do not need a lot of frit for full saturation. To get full color, all you have to do is sift enough on so it covers the glass. And so that means that when you use a stencil, that you can actually do stencil after stencil after stencil, because you're not having to build that powder up very high. With our Glassy Cut shapes, you only need one. Like I said, it doesn't draw in, so you only need one shape. And if you're going to put powder on it and you're using one shape, you don't need to know what size the 10 is on. So believe it or not, this is the orange. It looks more like red. And then the red powder that we're going to use is white. And it doesn't mature until it gets to about 1500 degrees. So I always have a scrap piece of paper. You could always put your starfish on top of a lid or something like that. And I'll do it for this one. And then it makes it easier to pick up, but you can put it right down on a piece of paper. And then if you've got an enamel sifter, it's a Thompson enamel sifter, that's all you need. You don't put very much product in because it is ground up glass. You don't need a lot of product. And you don't want a lot in your screen because it's heavy, and so it won't want to come out of the screen. So I tap. I don't go like this, and I don't go up like this, because product can fall out, which is okay too, but I try to get something uniform. So you can see I'm just tapping until you can't see the glass. Bring this a little closer so you can see that. And I'm going to turn it. We don't need hairspray. You can see the product is really heavy, so it stays on the glass. I could almost tip this sideways. But can you see that I didn't use very much? I don't know if you can see there's not very much on there, but it is covering the glass. So it's full saturation, and it will look like this is our transparent orange. All right, so then I take it to another piece of paper. And of course I want to save what I didn't use. Put it back in the jar. And then you can get stencils anywhere and everywhere these days. So this is just a swirl stencil. And you can just lay it down very easily. On these stencils, we'll put a little piece of tape on the corners so that it's easier to grab and pull up. But then here's the red, which looks like white, but it is red. And then I'm going to put a little bit on, just enough where it covers the orange. But I'm not piling it up. If you pile it up and you can't see the stencil anymore, you probably put on too much. But here again, it might be a little bit messy taking off the stencil, but to each their own. All right, so then I always hold on to one side of the stencil, grab it, hold that down, grab the other side, and then I will lift straight up. Don't look yet because you might spill the product through the stencil, and just lay it down on your piece of paper. And then, there you go. I think I just tipped it. But anyway, can you see it? It's just a little bit of product through the stencil, and it creates that swirl design that you see in there. Voila. We sell these shapes. Either we have DIY where people come in and use our powders and our stencils and they create their own ornaments and trays and that sort of thing, or we create them and have them for sale. So what we've tried to do is all of our shapes are geared to sell to other artists so that we keep a price point down so that you can buy the raw materials, make it your own, and resell it. All right, so this will be a full fuse again. That fusing schedule is in the kit. You have full access to me anytime. You can give us a call. That number is in the kit also. And I look forward to maybe talking to you one day. Let me know if you have any questions. What I'll do is I will have some additional photos at the end of this that shows you what this all looks like. All right, thanks. Bye.